Hi, I'm Brian,
And I'm Michaela, and this is Drink the Movies.
a podcast where each week we try to recreate a classic movie drink and discuss the movie that inspired it.
Thanks for joining us. Now let's drink the movies.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Michaela.
Hey, you know Dasher, right?
Oh my gosh, I do. I do know Dasher,
And
yes.
and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen.
Do you know them? Yes. And
I
Comet
do.
and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen and Mrs. Donner, too, for that matter. That's what
That's
we
right.
got coming this week. So hello and welcome to episode 149 of Drink the Movies. I am Brian here, as always, with Michaela and eight shiny reindeer this week. So Michaela, we're going through our holiday movies. We have a bit of a history here with some holiday movies at Drink the Movies. That's how we got started. So we've been going through every year, and we'll pick a couple of holiday movies. We always throw one in that's one of our favorites, and one of my favorites. I don't know if it's one of your favorites or not, but we're going to find out soon. But that is the 1964 Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I love it. I love
Yeah.
how creepy it is. I love how like grumpy and mean Santa is. I love all the things about it. What
Yeah.
about you? Do you love
This-
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
I do love Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Probably not for any of the reasons that you do. You were
Wow,
basically the Santa, which is kind of funny. You're like,
true.
it needs more work. This song is awful. Um,
Yeah, fair.
but
Bring your
spending
A
the
games,
whole
elves. It's Christmas time.
yeah, it's Christmas time. Remember, it's for Santa. I love it because this is a great story in general about how people's differences and abilities can all be used for the greater good, and not everybody has to be this cookie cutter version of whatever person or reindeer it is that you think is good, right? And I think
Hmm.
this is a great story for children. I think a lot of people totally miss that as they get older. They become jaded and they just think this is kind of a story that loses it. But that's one of the reasons why I love it. And I don't know what you're talking about scary. There's nothing scary except for the abominable snowman who did actually scare the crap out of me as a child. I did not
Yeah,
like it when I was like really little. But now it's fine.
I know
It's just a bumble.
they're adorable. All of these little characters, and I am like Santa a little bit. Although key difference here, I would not be turning away Mrs. Claus food. I'd be ready to go come Christmas Day for sure. So let's do this, Michaela. We're going to go. We're going to have to save Christmas. With Rudolph, we're gonna have to fly through some dense fog, winter storms, all those things. So what we're going to need is a good cocktail to help us do that. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back to whip up this week's drink.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
This week, we're mixing up a delicious batch of Glühwein. I hope I'm saying that right. Am I saying that
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Glühwein, Glühwein.
pretty close.
There's no
Pretty close.
tea. There's no tea in it. And it's going to help us fight through that wintry storm. This reminds me of the opening scene with Burl Ives as Sam. I think he's
Mm.
Sam, right? Sam,
Yeah,
the really sweet, all-knowing, very wise snowman, right?
that's right.
I
Yes.
think it would make him happy. It would probably melt his little snowy heart. But Glühwein is a tradition, just like Rudolph is, and maybe it's longer than the tradition of watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but just as tasty, just as good, just as heartwarming.
Just as tasty, just as good, just as heartwarming. Yeah, absolutely. So, this week we're talking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and there are a lot of like Rudolph cocktails and like reindeer cocktails, and they're all some sort of sickeningly sweet martini with like little like antlers sticking out of it somehow or another, maybe like a little like maraschino cherry giving you a red nose. So we thought that was okay, right? But that's kind of one note. We wanted to try and branch out, think of something a little bit different. So we put our heads together and we're like, well, kind of the key component to Rudolph is that he saves Christmas, right? He gets like outcast from Christmas Town basically, but he comes back to save Christmas Christmas, save everyone's butts, and get gifts to all of the worthy girls and boys. So, what are you going to need to do if there's a big giant snowstorm? And like you said, right at the beginning of the film, they're showing like newsreel of like all these blizzards and stuff. Makes me cold to watch Rudolph, but you know what makes me warm? That is some Glühwein, Michaela. So this is like a German staple. If you're ever fortunate enough to go to Germany from the time between like Thanksgiving and Christmas, you're going to go to a Christmas market. It's going to be amazing. There's a lot of German style Christmas markets that have popped up all around the country, all around other countries in the world. It is a classic of classic things, and Glühwein is the classic of classic Christmas treats.
It sure is. And I have to say, we were really cool in that we found a really great Glühwein recipe that you put your stamp of approval in. If anybody didn't know, Brian and his lovely bride, they spent a few years in Germany. So I defer to him on all things European for that reason. And so this was the recipe that you were able to find. But we also found a really cool mocktail that we're going to talk about a little bit, because this has alcohol in it. I think in Germany, it's. I don't know if they give this to kids or not, but if you don't want to have any alcohol and you still want that warm kind of, I don't know, wintry, cinnamony sweetness, a good mocktail. This we found one for you, so that's exciting.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to warm you up in all the right ways for sure coming this Christmas time. And yeah, we found a really good mocktail. It gets really, really close actually to the real deal. So we'll talk you through how to make this. This particular one came from allrecipes.com, but there's a bunch of these if you type in Glühwein, and they're all sort of generally the kind of the same riff on all these things. So what you're going to do, this is pretty simple to put together. You could do this in a crock pot. That's going to be amazing. That's going to keep warm all day for your winter parties and stuff like that. But go ahead and throw in 3/4 of a cup of water, 3/4 of a cup of sugar, one cinnamon stick. Go ahead and throw that into a saucepan, put it over some heat, and let that sugar dissolve. And once that sugar dissolves, what you're going to do is you're going to take an orange, like a medium-sized orange, cut that in half and squeeze all of the juice out into the saucepan. And then go ahead and throw the halves of the orange in there, along with 10 whole cloves. Now you can go ahead and push those cloves into the orange if you want. That's going to make it easier to fish them out. If you don't feel like doing that, just go ahead and throw your 10 cloves in there. You're just going to have to, get them out of there with like a slotted spoon, something like that, once it comes time to drink this thing. So basically put your orange juice and your cloves in there, and then you're going to simmer it for like a half an hour. It's going to get syrupy and rich. It's going to make your kitchen smell nice, all that stuff. And then after the half hour, go ahead and pour in 1 bottle of red wine. I think we used a Cabernet yesterday when we were making this up, Michaela, but you could certainly use like a Merlot or like a German red wine, kind of whatever you want. Don't go crazy like high end on this, just like a $12-15 bottle of red wine is going to get you right where you need to be. And then you're going to let that kind of warm up for the next 5 or so minutes. Then you're going to ladle it out into a cup, a Christmassy cup, sip and enjoy. You're welcome. Merry Christmas. And thank you for saving the day, Rudolph.
Hey, thank you for saving the day, Rudolph. I love this because when we were able to do this together. And it was cold out, and it was perfect for it. And seeing the joy spread across your face, you took one sip and you're like, I think that's pretty on point. And I knew that this is the recipe to end all recipes. Now, to be fair, it's going to make a little over a bottle of wine. Now, if you wanted to do a mocktail, instead, do 2 cups of cherry juice, 2 cups of pomegranate juice instead of the bottle of red wine. And there you have it. It's the same thing. It's super easy to make. It just takes a little bit of time. And it's so tasty. And I have to say, as soon as we drank our cup, I was like, I need to go and get another cup. And then after that second cup, I was like, I really should have made more. I definitely think putting this in a crock pot, whether it's the mocktail or the alcoholic version, that is the way to go. Do it for Christmas, do it for Christmas Eve, have it at a party, something like that, because this is so easy and it is so good. I just felt so Christmassy. It really was like the opening of the Christmas season all over again for me. It was so great.
Yeah, absolutely. And the mocktail version with the cherry and pomegranate is really good. Like I said, it's really close to like the flavor profile of like a Merlot. If you're familiar with that type of wine there with the pomegranate and cherry notes. There's some tannin in the cherry juice and the tart cherry juice for sure. So it's going to be really close. So give that a try. Let us know what you think about Glühwein or if you have any other Glühwein experiences or pictures of yourself going to Christmas markets. We want to see that stuff for sure. But what we need to do, Michaela, is we need to go back in our time machines to 1964 when the world was ready for Rudolph to save the day. So let's do that. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Vaginas are absolute magic, and Ollie is here to give them the respect they deserve. That means shame-free supplements made with clinically studied ingredients to keep your pH in check and your pleasure a priority. Put yourself on top. Go to Ollie.com today. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
On Sunday, December 4th, Burl Ives again tells the exciting news story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on the General Electric Fantasy Hour. The date, Sunday, December 4th. Join Rudolph in a trip to the island of misfit toys. Meet Yukon Cornelius, the funniest prospector of the North.
Gad, Zeus, the humble snow monster of the North strikes again.
Meet Santa's elves and hear 7 original Christmas songs. Burl sings,
Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. I don't know if there'll be snow, but have a cup of cheer.
it's a holly jolly Christmas special for the entire family. Don't miss Rudolph, Sunday, December 4th, in color on most of these stations.
Spoiler warning for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. If you've not seen this movie, I don't know, you've been living under a rock probably. But we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about the song that everyone's probably also heard. So if you don't know how this ends, I got nothing for you, is basically what I'm saying. Because we're going to talk about it, but we're also going to talk about all of the other side stories that go with this, because it's not just about a red-nosed reindeer named Rudolph that saves Christmas. It's about a bunch of other things too, and we're going to talk about all those. So you've been warned. You've been warned.
Yeah, the song that you've no doubt heard on the radio at least one time this season has already spoiled the story for you as well. Let's see. So this came out in 1964. It was directed by Larry Romer, and it stars Billy May Richards, who voices Rudolph. Larry D. Mann voices Yukon Cornelius, our silver and gold prospector. Paul Soules is voicing Hermie, our dissatisfied elf who just wants to be a dentist. Janice Orenstein stars as Clarice, our lovable doe, who's going to fall madly in love with Rudolph, no doubt. Stan Francis is Santa, and Burl Ives is playing Sam the Snowman and also serving as our story's narrator. So Michaela, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, it originally debuted on December the 6th, 1964. And the story features some stop-motion animation, telling of the story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which began its life as a poem written for Montgomery Ward's department store in 1939 by Robert L. May. You might not be familiar with Montgomery Ward. There used to be one where I grew up. We would go there. It started life as like a mail order business kind of thing, and then it was a department store, kind of like Macy's, basically. But Montgomery Ward was a big deal, and part of their holiday flyers, they would put these stories out. That's where this poem came out, and that was in 1939. In 1948, there was a theatrical short animated film which was based on the poem, and then the following year, in 1948, Rudolph would strike it big time when Robert L. May's brother-in-law, Johnny Marks, would turn the poem into a song. Gina Autry would sing it, and it would be a #1 U.S. Billboard hit. So welcome to the big time, Rudolph.
Welcome to the big time, Rudolph, indeed. Now, did you ever go to Montgomery Ward? Because I grew up going to Montgomery Ward. Oh, yeah. It was like a total thing. And at Christmas time, it really became like this wonderland. Where you all these things, you'd get the catalog and you could go look, and then you could go to the actual store and like see all the things. It was so cool.
Yeah, and I compared it to Macy's, and now there's Macy's pretty much everywhere. But kind of the time we were growing up, that wasn't really the case. I don't think Macy's really extended much past like the Northeast, right? Like New York was Macy's, and then kind of everywhere else was Montgomery Ward, I think, or at least kind of like the middle part of the country. Anyway, so yeah,
Mhm.
so Montgomery Ward is a big deal. That's where you go and get all of your stuff. It was just a big, huge department store, so it was a big deal. And it's kind of fun to think that this was a poem written for that as commercial as Christmas is going to be here in this sense. And Rudolph definitely has some commercial appeal, right? So obviously that #1 Billboard hit for the Gene Autry song, but it also got turned into like Viewmaster reels, comic book series. There was a little golden book, which kept the story of Rudolph going until 1964, when Rankin and Bass Productions would greenlight their kind of newest television adaptation and send it out to audience. So the Rankin and Bass production here, the story we're talking about today, Michaela, that was based solely off the song, not about the poem at all. The poem is a little bit different than the song, so that's kind of where that's coming into play here, is based off of the song. And that basically kind of set off this family Christmas events going, right? So you had like the Grinch, I think, the following year, and all of this stuff that kind of fell in the footsteps of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah. Yeah. It started it all. So anybody, and that's why I feel like these come in packets. If you were going to go and you say, I want to buy a copy of this, you could purchase a packet where there's this, and then like Santa Claus is coming to town. But it really all started with this film, which is so interesting because it was a TV special. It wasn't actually a film. So if you go look it up and you don't remember the name, I guess it's going to be under TV shows and not movies. Fun fact, which always is where it's stored it somewhere incorrectly on my database. But this film, I just we got to talk about the stop animation, because the opening sequence is very it's super nostalgic for me, because you have, like you said at the beginning of this podcast, you've got all these newsreels and like I don't know if they're fake newspapers or not. They look
Right,
like they
yeah.
might be faked, but at the time they look pretty realistic, and it was all about this blizzard that comes in, and then like we end up kind of going into this flurried area of Christmas Town, which is the North Pole, and you see all these really cool cast and kind of credits that are done overlaid with these like claymation Christmas trees, and they're all covered in like clay snow, and it's just really, really cool the way that they got that to work. And I don't pretend to know how all of the special effects were done, but it holds up so beautifully, because or maybe it doesn't, but our nostalgia is blinded to
No,
to that, because
it holds
it
up great.
still looks great.
It does. It does look great. Yeah, you get the newsreel up front, and then you get Burl Ives coming in to narrate and playing Sam the Snowman. That's one of the shots that I always go back to, is kind of that very first thing, is you get Sam the Snowman coming in, and he's leaving like a trail of his like snowman body like in the snow as he's going through. So like the attention to detail and the stuff, it looks really, really cool, in the stop motion kind of feature there. So he's kind of telling us, getting us used to Christmas Town, and then we're going to go and meet kind of the hero of our story here, Rudolph, a newly born Rudolph here in Christmas Town. He gets Santa Claus going to visit him. Rudolph is the son of Donner and Mrs. Donner, I guess. And Santa's pretty happy, right? I guess Donner is like the lead of the reindeer team. So obviously Donner's son is going to be next in line, heir apparent, to lead Santa's sleigh, but unfortunately for poor Rudolph, he was born with a nose so bright.
It's a lovely name, Rudolph.
Hey, he knows his name already.
Papa, Mama. He's got a shiny nose.
Shiny? I'd even say it glows.
He was born with a red nose, which, of course, his mom is like, oh, well, we'll just have to overlook it. And here's the deal. This was like, what did you say, 1964 when this came out? I think if you're born with a child that looks different, or something like that, you're faced with a choice. And I think in this, it's no different now. What I found interesting was that the mom was like, well, it's fine. We'll just deal with it, right?
Well, we'll simply have to overlook it.
Now, how can you overlook that? His beak blinks like a blinking beacon.
And he was like, absolutely not. And Donner was like, absolutely not. I don't know who was playing him, but his voice was like a mix between like annoying and like overbearing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Was he also Connor? Because I feel like, oh, Comet. Yeah. It was kind of the same like cadence of speaking where he's like, no son of mine is going to have a red nose and we're just going to cover it up. And right in time for like Santa to show up as they're having this argument. And, you know, poor Rudolph, he's really smart. He knows who Santa is like immediately. I wouldn't know anybody if I was only 10 minutes old, but he's like able to speak. He's able to sing a little bit. He's playing with this jingle jangle song that they're doing, and it's really cute. But then great bouncing icebergs. Like Santa's like freaking out because of his nose. Yep. Really, shame on you, Santa.
Shame on you, Santa. Yeah, Santa is a curmudgeon throughout this whole thing. I really like kind of in this section they when Donner like he covers his nose up right with some like mud, and that's also a really cool effect when he's like putting his hoof like through this mud and he like puts it on top of his nose so no one will know. But then he still has like a giant nose because it's just covered up with mud. But then I really like Rudolph's voice. He gets all like super like stuffed up sounding, you know, like he's dealing with his winter allergies there. And you know, Santa he's not having it. He's like, nope, terrible. What's wrong with you, Donner? Having such a terrible kid, Rudolph, never going to lead the sleigh with your red nose. And, you know, Rudolph is not the only outcast that we're going to meet here in the story, Michaela, because kind of after this first introduction to Rudolph, we're going to go and meet some of Santa's elves. They're there in the workshop having a good time. The foreman elf seems a bit of a stickler, you know, for getting your job done. But there's one elf in particular that seems to be struggling with that, and that is Hermie, who is voiced by Paul Soles. Fun fact, Paul Soles also voiced Spider-Man in the original Spider-Man cartoon series in the late 1960s. So that's pretty fun. But Hermie doesn't want to be an elf. Hermie wants to be an dentist.
Well, sir, someday I'd like to be a dentist.
A dentist?
Well, we need one up here. I've been
Hermie wants to be a dentist. And it's so cute. Because let's be clear, Hermie is the sweetest, most like happy elf to be exactly who he is, right? I feel like there's a lot of things that we could take from watching this. If your son or your friend was like, hey, I know everybody's doing this, but I want to do this instead, or I feel like I'm this instead, we should listen to them. But oh no, head elf like freaks out and he's like, you're gonna learn how to be an elf and like it. You're gonna wiggle your ears and you're gonna sing hee hee and ho ho and who wants to be a dentist? That's stupid. That's ridiculous. But Hermie, you know, this is when the idea of the misfit comes on, right? Because he starts to sing this where he just because he doesn't fit in means he's a misfit, and where is he going to go and what is he going to do? And to Hermie's credit, he's like, I don't need this. I'm going to go run away. That's fine. I don't need you people. And what's sad is that there are children out there who needs to take a piece out of Hermie's take a piece of paper out of his playbook there and say, you know what, I'm still going to be true to myself and I'm going to go find my way. And that's what happens to Hermie. We love that.
That's right. Hermie doesn't like to make toys. What they say.
Hermie doesn't like to make toys. Hermie doesn't like to make toys. Hermie doesn't like to make toys.
Which is really pretty great. And yeah, Hermie is going to go down his own path, right? So he has to stay late at work, which is bad. His elf boss is like, you got to stay here and fish making your toys. Get your head out of the clouds, Hermie. What is wrong with you? So Hermie's there, and what's he doing? He's not working at all. He's trying to fix like this doll's teeth, and his boss comes back in, busts him, and he's like, what are you even talking about, a dentist? How do you know how to be a dentist? We're at the North Pole. Your job is to make toys. So Hermie decides to slip out in the night, and no one finds out about this right away, right? Until Santa Claus is watching elf rehearsal there. They're singing their elf song. They're the We Are Santa's Elves. And maybe my favorite line of like the whole movie is after they're done, and Santa's just like, need some work. I gotta go.
Well, it needs work. I have to go.
And Mrs. Claus is like, oh, Santa, come back. I mean, she's like the nicest, like, she's trying to get him to eat because he won't eat. He needs to be fat. I mean, and then she's like, you need to be happier.
Nobody wants a skinny Santa.
Nobody wants a skinny Santa. I love that they immediately are like, the tenor section was weak. What is happening? And they're like, well, Hermie's not here. And so Hermie's like, I'm out. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go be a dentist. I'm going to be independent, which is
I'm
which
going
is
to
a
go
great,
be independent.
I'm
That's
going
right.
to be
Yeah,
on my own.
they have dolls that walk and talk and blink and run a temperature or something, I think,
Yep.
but
Yep.
no chewing dolls. Don't need a dentist there. I like he like jumps out of the window and he like falls into a snowdrift, which is pretty fun too. So yeah, so there is our one misfit, our one outcast there, Hermie. Rudolph is about to become a true outcast himself because he's been living life with the the covered up nose there. He's keeping his like mud on top of it, and he's going. And what do? You go and play your reindeer games. That's what you go. Is like Coach like Blitzen? Is that who's doing
No, it's
the
Comet.
or Comet? Comet, yeah, that's right. Comet has like a cool like blonde hair sort of thing sticking up. I like that. And all of the reindeer are there to learn how to fly, and they're all kind of struggling with it. So what's the surefire way to get Rudolph to fly? That is to find some young love with Clarice.
Clarice. Now here's again true love, right? Because she asks him. She says, "Is everything okay with your nose? Because you talk kind of funny." And he's like, "What's the matter with the way I talk?" By the way, Billy Mae Richards, who plays Rudolph, also plays Tenderheart Bear in all of the original Care Bears series. So she's amazing, and we are so grateful for her voice. Back to the plot. Clarice doesn't mind at all. She's like, look, I don't mind. I don't mind that he has she doesn't mind that he ends up showing off that he has a red nose. He gets so excited because she thinks he's cute and she like gives him a kiss on the cheek or something that he flies. I'm so cute.
Magnificent.
And he flies like crazy. And of course, the coach Comet is like, this is amazing. And Santa is like, this is awesome. This is so great. And then it turns out that his nose kind of mud thing comes off. And his friend Fireball is like, what's going on? You're so weird looking. And it's such a shame because then, of course, they're like, no one's going to play any reindeer games with Rudolph. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, Coach Comet is the worst. He's like, what the blinking beacon or something. It's great. Yeah, and he's like, all right, kids, everyone, ignore and ostracize Rudolph there because of his glowing red nose. I like Santa even shows up, right? And he's like, oh, good job, Donner. Your kid's good at flying. Like Santa completely forgot that he had a red nose from like 2 minutes ago when he just met this kid. So yeah, so that's bad, right? So, but Clarice had promised, or Rudolph had promised to walk Clarice home. So, Rudolph runs out of there, with his tail tucked because, he just got yelled at by all the adults in the room, getting made fun of by all the kids in the room. But, Clarice is in it. Clarice sees something in Rudolph and she still wants to be walked home. She sings the prettiest song in all of the thing. There's Always Tomorrow, I think is the name of it. That's really nice. They're walking through the woods. But, Rudolph, even though he's caught the eye and the attention of Clarice and she seems pretty good, he doesn't know about all this, right? He thinks that he might need to get out of there too. And that's when Fortune is going to come in and put Hermie and Rudolph together on a whirlwind adventure to find their place in the land of Santa Claus.
That's right. And it's one of my favorite songs where they both say, hey, we're both misfits. We want to be independent. Let's be independent together, which is basically the way I live my entire life. So that's great. They go and decide they're gonna kind of make their way through these snowy mountains. And again, I love this shot. There's this abominable snow monster that's kind of following behind them because, of course, Rudolph's nose is really bright and he can see it. And so, like, there's this. It's not really a chase scene, but it's kind of a chase scene where the snow monster's kind of behind these mountains and really kind of scary. The musical score is really building. And so they end up finding Yukon Cornelius, who's a prospector. And if you don't know what that is, it means that they like searching for gold or silver. Yukon doesn't know. He changes his mind all the time. He ends up finding a lot more ice than anything else, that's for sure.
A lot more ice. I love it. I love Yukon Cornelius is great. He's got a awesome like a mustache beard kind of thing. He's got a pickaxe he throws into the air and it falls and he like licks it to see if he's found any silver or gold. That's really good. There. And yeah, I really like kind of the section where they're like traversing the landscape, right, and they keep seeing Bumble, the abominable snowman there, and it comes in and it's like a 1920s like monster like feature, right? He's going through and like the music like swells up, it sounds exactly like that. That's so great. But they're running away and they have to go, and one of the things that Yukon is helpful with is he kind of knows about the abominable snowman. He's probably had an encounter or two with him and he knows the Bumbles can't swim, so they're going to go ahead and make themselves a makeshift raft on this iceberg and go to get away from Bumble. Now, that's great. One problem solved, but a new problem now is they're going to a completely different land, and that is to the island of misfit toys. They turn up, there are a bunch of toys singing there, telling them all of the tragic tales about how kids don't want to play with these misfit toys, so they got sent away to this island. they got shipped off. Come on, Santa Claus, what are you doing? These misfit toys.
I mean, I do have to say,
get your act together.
This is where like the Grimm's Brothers fairy tale kind of comes in, where it's like, man, this is dark. These poor toys all have personalities, and they're things like there's a goldfish, and there's a Charlie in the box instead of a Jack in the box, and then there's like an elephant with polka dots on it, which looks totally cute and adorable. I don't know why somebody would want to play with a polka dotted elephant. And a doll. We never find out what's wrong with the doll. We have no idea what's wrong with the doll. The doll looks fine.
Yeah. There's like a scooter. The scooter looks fine. Most of these things look fine. Even the little toy pistol shoots jelly. That sounds better to me.
Yeah.
Get some jelly on your sandwich with your pistol. Come on. Yeah, the Island Misfit Toys is pretty great. I like the song, we are the Island of Misfit Toys. That's pretty good. My favorite part about that, though, about the whole thing of the Island of Misfit Toys, is they go and their king is a lion that has wings, and he is like, what's his name? It's like King
Moonracer. King
Moonracer. That is the greatest name in all of film history. I love it so much. He has like this big giant voice, and he's like, you can't stay here. You're not real misfits, even though clearly Rudolph is with his shiny red nose, and Hermie is wanting to be dentist. Maybe Yukon isn't a a misfit. He can leave, but the rest of this crew is. But he does say that you can stay the night, and maybe if you make it back to see Santa Claus, remind him that these misfit toys need a home too. That's nice. That's a good message.
Right. I mean, King Moonracer is a winged lion. Surely he could fly to the North Pole and tell Santa himself. But whatever, it's fine. I know. I'm being contrarian and poking holes in this beautifully laid out plot. But I want to talk about this next scene because I love it so much. When they are in this little cozy house and it is super windy and stormy outside, I wanted to be in this house so much as a kid. They were like, it's all settled. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to wake up in the morning and we're all going to leave and it'll be fine. But Rudolph, he's like, I'm not having any of this. I am going to go ahead and go try and.
Well, so Rudolph decides he needs to leave early because the abominable snowman Bumble can smell him, right? Because he's a reindeer, and that's the one lesson that Donner taught his son before he basically kicked him to the curb. He's like, watch out for this abominable snowman because he can smell reindeer, and that's bad. And Rudolph knows if he keeps hanging out with these two, if he keeps hanging out with Hermie and Yukon, that he's going to get him killed, right? This thing's going to come and eat him. So he's like, I got to go off on my own. I got to protect my friends. Maybe these two could stay here in the Island Misfit Toys. I'm going to get out of here and go on my way.
Right. So that's what he does. He doesn't want his nose to endanger his friends, which is so sad. But then we kind of take a break, right? So time passes. So we don't really know what happens to Rudolph for a while or anybody else. But Rudolph has grown up. He's now kind of a young stag. It's probably only been a couple of months. I don't know how long that happens. I'm not a zoologist, but he does decide to return home, and he finds that his parents and Clarice have been out searching for him. I want to talk about this though, because this is great, because the men are like, all right, Clarice and Mom, you stay home. We're going to go find this kid. And as soon as Donner leaves the cave, Clarice and Mom are like, yeah, I'm out of here, dude. They have no idea where to go. This is their fault anyway. We're going to go fix this as you do. As
As they do. Yeah, that's exactly what happens, right? And Rudolph turns back up, and he goes like to like the cave that they lived in, and no one is there. And yeah, he eventually runs back across Santa Claus, and Santa Claus is like, no, they all left to look for you, dude. So you shouldn't have left, even though we were all mean to you and basically made you leave. So let bygones be bygones, no big deal. So he's got to go back out and find his parents now. Now he's a little bit older, a little bit more mature, and kind of knows what to do. He knows all the dear things to do. So he goes and he finds them, but unfortunately, all of these people who have been out looking for him now are trapped by Bumble. So they're going to have to come up with the greatest plan of them all, which involves, Hermie playing the role of bait and Yukon Cornelius getting this Bumble knocked down with some sort of rock thing to the noggin. That'll hit.
Right. Yeah. No, Hermie lures the monster out, and he's like oinking. It's pretty funny. And then the abominable's teeth gets pulled out, which is probably Hermie's like favorite thing ever. But then Yukon, it's so sad because Yukon drives this monster over a cliff, and he falls with it. And so we're like, poor Rudolph is like, he's gone. And so we think that Yukon has sacrificed himself to save everybody else and to finally do away with the abominable snow monster once and for all. But they get to return home, and everybody apologizes. They don't really apologize. They're like, hey, I mean, we shouldn't have been mean. It's fine, right? Like, it's totally,
sorry it took
you're
that
going to
so
deal
bad,
with all
Rudolph.
this childhood trauma for the rest of your life, but, sorry about it.
It's fine. It's fine because Rudolph now is going to be the key figure in saving Christmas because they get back just in time, right, for Christmas Day. They get back. Everyone's like, "Oh, welcome back, Rudolph." But too bad Christmas is canceled because look at the storm rolling in. This blizzard's no good. Santa can't see. The rest of the reindeer can't see. And as the snow's moving in, one thing is shining out above the rest, and that is Rudolph's nose. So with your nose shining bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Says Santa. And of course you will, because Rudolph is the bigger reindeer, the bigger person in this whole story. And he says, yeah, absolutely, I will, Santa. But here's the deal. We're going to make a pit stop, Island of Misfit Toys. We're going to go get those toys. We're going to deliver those to all the kids around the world, and everyone's going to be happy. And then you're all going to herald me as the savior of Christmas because I'm tired of dealing with all of you jerks.
I mean, that's sort of what happens. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So then he goes down in history as Rudolph, the famous red-nosed reindeer. And what I think is really interesting is that they realize, hey, Rudolph is different. And actually, we really need that. We need somebody different, and we need somebody different every time, not just when there's a bad snowstorm, but this person has something about them that other people don't, and we need it. We need it every year. And it's a really beautiful story to tell children and to tell adults that just because somebody is different than you doesn't mean that they have any less value. And in fact, there are things that everybody can bring to the table to make Christmas and every day really special.
That's right. Yeah, Rudolph saves the day. Hermie is a full-fledged dentist now. He even schedules an appointment for his old jerky elf boss to come in and get his teeth checked out. And Yukon and Bumble, that's okay because Bumble's bounced, so they were all good. And now the abominable snowman, Bumble, he's there. He can help Christmas Town. He puts like the star on top of the tree. So that's good. So all is well that ends well. And that is the story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Michaela, there are a couple of movies that I watch every year, and there is one that stands out above the rest as the movie that I watch every year. Watched it every year. You and I both have merchandise from this because I don't know, one of my absolute favorites. It's a Wonderful Life might be my favorite Christmas movie, but I think that's more of like a favorite movie. This is my holiday jam right here. I love Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Yeah, no, it's hard not to love. I mean, I think if you don't love it, like my husband hates this film. And I just want to talk a little bit about it because everything that he doesn't like about it is totally true. People aren't nice. People, alienate this person because he's different. That's not okay. But I think that this is a really beautiful story to teach people how to be kind and how to be accepting and how to be inclusive. Yes, I know it sounds woke, but they were
Mm-hmm.
doing it in 1964, everybody, and they thought it was cool then. We can think it's cool now, and we should do it every day. I agree with you. I think this is a great film. It's beautifully animated. It stands up to the test of time. It's really tongue-in-cheekly written. I think I still chuckle when I see some of the things that are done. Some of the scenes. I love kind of the weirdness around Yukon Cornelius. I love Hermie. Hermie is definitely like one of my favorite characters because he knows himself and he's not afraid to just accept who he is. He never once says,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I wish I wasn't a dentist. I wish I was the same." He's like, "I'm going to be a dentist. That's what I want to be." And he doesn't make other people feel bad that they don't want him to be a dentist, but he's like, "This is just who I am." And I think that's such a great thing for children and adults to see. And I
Mm-hmm.
understand that there's all these layers that we're putting onto this story, but at the end of the day, that's what makes this movie so amazing. And it is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. It's certainly my favorite quote unquote kids film to watch every year, more than How the Grinch Stole
Mm-hmm.
Christmas. I just love it. And I feel like the music, not only the soundtrack, but the score is also really special in the way that
Mm-hmm.
they kind
Yeah.
of they change the moods when you go to the island of misfit toys, and it's kind of the sadness and longing kind of song versus it when it's really scary, when the abominable snow monster is kind of running after Hermie and Rudolph, to kind of this joyousness at the very end when you're having a holly jolly Christmas. It's awesome, just awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. It's one that I look forward to watching every year, for sure. And yeah, it does have some really good themes. Obviously like the bullying and stuff is there, but it kind of comes full circle. And then the amount of things that this has gone on to kind of inspire and be different versions of. There have been several versions now of kind of the story. Even this particular kind of version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer went on to get its own kind of sequels and things over the next kind of decade of storytelling there. The soundtrack is amazing. I love the score. I love like this big like symphonic kind of score, like undertone to it is really great. And yeah, it's just a really really fun time, and it definitely gets me in the Christmas spirit. So let us know out there if you decide to mix yourself up some Glühwein to have along with Rudolph, or what you think of Rudolph. Who was your favorite reindeer? If you are into finding silver and gold like Yukon Cornelius, let us know all of that stuff. You can do that on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram and X and Threads and Blue Sky and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to connect with us and find the written recipes, stuff like that on our website, you can do that. It's www.drinkthemovies.com. And if you want to go a little bit deeper and support and get in some more bonus stuff, you can do that on our Patreon. It's patreon.com/Drink the Movies. We appreciate every one of our patrons over there. Thank you so much for all of your support, and excited to get some more bonus content out to you soon. So, Michaela, we also appreciate anyone who takes the time to subscribe to the podcast and leave us reviews, all that good stuff. Where can they do that?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere where you're listening to right now. There is a like button, there's a subscribe button. You can leave a 5-star review. It really helps us get all the Drink the Movie stuff out there. We are so excited to be in our third holiday season to be able to talk about movies. We talk about music a little bit too sometimes. Fourth? Is this our fourth? Oh my gosh.
It's our fourth.
It's
Time
our
flies.
fourth.
Time
Wow.
flies.
So we're so knocked out and excited to be able to do it, but we really can't do it on our own without you. So if you're liking what you're hearing, please subscribe, tell your friends. It really helps us get all the Drink the Movies goodness out there.
Absolutely. So, with that, Michaela, I think it's time for us to go mix up some more Glühwein, because I heard that a winter storm is rolling in, and we don't have Rudolph's special abilities to help us see the way, but we do have a good recipe for some Glühwein. So let's go do that. So let's mix up another batch of that, and we'll talk to everyone next time on
Drink
the Movies.
There's always tomorrow.
Needs work.
Needs work. Yeah, no kidding. All right, Santa.